Welcome back to Snackcast.
Yeah, this is a elderberry.
Elderberry. Yeah. So do you want to start? You want to start like where it comes from? What is it?
I don't know where it comes from. It's an elderberry. I know that.
I can help you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So this one, kind of similar to flax, has been used by our ancestors a lot.
Thousands of years.
Right. The cool thing is this thing can pretty much grow anywhere.
Really?
It originated, I think, I
can grow elderberry in my backyard?
Yeah, for sure.
For real?
In fact, one of the research things I did, the guy was in Texas, South Texas. And his problem was that they can withstand arid or damp, but they grow better with a little bit of water. So he irrigates his.
Okay.
But so they come off the plant. Some people call it the elderberry bush. It's actually the Sambucus.
Sambuca.
Right? Did you think of what I thought of? It is off the Sambucus, and some places called it a tree, some places called it a bush. Pick your poison: green jacket, gold jacket. Right. I don't know, But yeah, it's a rapidly growing tree bush, and it even not to get really into the weeds. I just thought this was kind of fascinating, right? When you plant one and it grows, it has a fairly aggressive and shallow root system. What it does is you'll get a foot, 2-3 feet away, and
really
it'll sprout another one. So if you are going to grow some, you have to kind of understand it's going to kind of spread.
And it can get away from you, huh?
Get away from you. Yeah.
So the other thing that I learned was that you can't just pick these things and eat them. They got cyanide in them.
They can, right?
And you can get severely ill, severe stomach issues. There's lots of stories that have eaten these raw and just they're miserable, right?
Right.
But you need to cook them. That's what you need to do. You need to cook.
Oh, really?
That, yeah.
Now, see, that's not the research I got.
Okay. Well, here, preach it.
The research I got was you just have to make sure they are fully ripened. And they're almost blackberry looking or blueberry,
So dried elderberries are okay?
That I didn't read that specifically, but what I read was the cyanide is in the leaves, the bark, and the green or the red berries.
Okay.
But once they fully darken into that, it looked almost blackish or dark purple,
Right.
And once they're that color, what I gathered, I don't want anyone to go pick a black elderberry, eat it, get sick, and sue Kevin. No, but the research I got was fully ripened. You're good to go.
Yeah. Maybe that was the safety net, is fully ripened is fine, but fully ripened and cooked, you're good.
Yeah, you may be right.
So anyway, thousands of years this thing has been used, and it's been used for all sorts of things. Predominantly, it's a really strong and powerful antiviral, right? I can attest to it. I would usually take elderberry, and a lot of times it's elderberry and vitamin C, and a lot of times, not to get into more details, but they're in gummies and sugar things. I don't recommend that. Definitely try to take it without any kind of sugar additive associated with it.
You know what they are in?
What?
Jerry? The Power Boost Immune. There's an elderberry.
Nice. This is not a recommendation for...
So it's really in that. So I found flaxseed interesting yet boring, right? Yeah. This one, I really was kind of intrigued. It's in that superfood class, right? You mentioned the antiviral. It's packed with antioxidants. We know that those help stabilize and whatever the free radicals. Super high. The berry itself is super high in vitamin C, apparently. Vitamin A, fiber, I don't know what these others are, flavonoids and phenolic acids.
Right.
I don't know what those are, but
so the antiviral is specifically congestion, right? You learned about that a little bit?
Some of the research I did, it's generally anti-inflammatory, which is good for the whole body, right? And pain and whatever.
Right.
But specifically, for whatever reason, it's very potent, if that's the word, in the chest cavity. Bronchitis, the flu, potentially asthma.
Man, COPD is probably all up in that camp.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah. So apparently it's very effective in the lung cavity, the chest cavity.
So other things, if you're suffering from pain, he mentioned inflammation and swelling. It's a very powerful diuretic. So it's going to cause urination. So if you have swelling of the legs or any of those type of ankles, elderberry, who knew? Gas.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lowers your blood sugar.
Oh.
And can help protect against radiation. Again, if you're a pilot, if you're a X-ray tech,
right?
Those maybe elderberry might be in your daily.
Right. If you worked at Chernobyl.
Yeah, Chernobyl.
You know. So, did you mention constipation and diuretic?
I mentioned diuretic, not constipation.
Okay. Well, of course, diuretics help with constipation. But did you get the science behind it?
No.
It's kind of interesting. Something in the elderberry helps the intestines dehydrate. It kind of naturally pulls the water out, which makes the muscles kind of want to get to working again.
It's kind of like magnesium.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've talked about, when you take something, especially something not natural, sometimes it's like Hydra. You can solve one problem and create 2 or 3 others. Mm-hmm. We did a snack cast on laxatives. You can reference that and kind of what we're getting at here. But this looks to be a natural way to do what some of the pharma companies have tried to copy.
That's interesting.
So how do you take elderberry? What?
Well, the big one is in pills, gummies. I've seen, and again, I'd recommend. That's how I've taken it in the past. I'd recommend against that. There was a zinc elderberry combination that I took, a zinc elderberry vitamin C combination.
It's supplement aisle, right? It's
right.
In all these
and then you look at it and they're taste like blueberries, loaded with sugar, and now looking back at my stupidity, I feel like, all right, there's got to be better ways than how I took it.
So I did look up the natural. If you were to go pick some elderberries, what do you do with them, right? And it looks like I didn't see, I'm not saying you can't, but I didn't see anyone that just picked them to eat them. They either simmered them in water and made, and it kind of depends on at what stage, right? But it's either a tea or a juice.
The tea, the tea sounds really interesting. I need to
basically
look at that.
Simmer them down. The one I thought was really interesting and is you simmer them down, then you strain out the berries. So it's water, berries, simmer until it looks like the water has turned the color of the berries. It's getting all the stuff out of the berries. And then you just get the berries out of there. You strain it. Some people were using, what's it called, like milk cloth. Some people were just using metal strainers. Mm-hmm. But you get the berries out, put it back in the pot, and you dump in a bunch of raw honey.
Make a syrup.
And you make a syrup. Now, I didn't gather that people were using the syrup like on their pancakes. It was almost like the cough syrup. You take a couple spoonfuls when you feel congestion, or if you just want it as a daily supplement. But yeah, you can make like a whole bunch of it for nothing. And
that's so interesting. So, when you think about how people take, they get organic honey or honey from your area because it's got all the pollens in it, and
right,
makes you susceptible to those pollens. Right, that's what that's what they try to do with vaccines, and they do a horrible job with it, right? Promotes those antibodies against whatever it is those allergens are. And it seems like, man, what a powerful combination
That's
that would
what
be.
I thought.
Like elderberry syrup coupled with organic honey from your area.
That's what I thought.
Wham, bam.
So no kidding. I am probably going to try and find a small plant or some seeds and grow one.
I think I'm going to do the same.
Yeah. Again, the flaxseed, I get it. It's it's healthy, but it was boring. This one seemed so interesting.
Yeah, what comes to mind is, all right, if you had to create yourself a natural medicine where you couldn't rely on the store anymore, what would be your number one source to go to? So far,
Pretty good one.
So far, it seems pretty good.
Yeah. There was actually one of the sources I wish I had written down, but he's a farmer in Texas, and his whole thing, I don't want to say his whole thing. I don't want to speak for the guy. What I gathered was he wants to be unplugged from the system, he and his family. He doesn't want to give his kids drugs, doesn't want his wife on drugs. They grow their own foods. They grow their own medicines. He was probably the most informational piece that I got. I got
to look at this guy. It might be interesting.
It was pretty cool. So,
all right. Well, how long does it take it to grow an elderberry plant?
He said that the one he had on his property, he said 3 years. To answer your question, from seedling to fruit bearing is about 3 years. But about that 3 year mark, I think because it does grow so aggressively, there was one of those underground sprouts that came up that in 1 year was 6 feet tall. So,
wow.
Yeah. I think it's like once it gets going, man, it's off
I
to
might
the races.
just go ahead and order some elderberries and
get one
fully grown or something,
Make sure it is the Sambucus variety.
Sambuca.
I forget the other. It was actually called. It was, I guess, the Latin name or I'm not a herbologist, treologist,
but I did stay at a Holiday Inn last
night.
night.
It was Sambucus nigra, and apparently there's another type of elderberry. The name didn't sound anything like it, so if it says Sambucus on it, you're going to be good to go. But he did say there was one that you don't want, and some people confuse with elderberry. So Sambucus nigra, that's the one you want.
Awesome.
So, all right. Questions, comments, concerns, hit us at snackcast@yes.fit.
Stay moving.
See you.